Hello, this is Benjamin Boyce, and I would like to introduce you to Tom Wrocklage. And he and I speak about the Community Education Council District 2 meeting that I did a brief video on and showed some clips of the madness that is afoot.
It hurts people when they see a white man bouncing a brown baby on their lap and they don't know the context. That is harmful. You think I'm a social justice warrior and you think I'm being patronizing and I'm getting pressure for not being enough of an advocate. And I take that to heart and that hurts me. And I have to learn to make how to be a better white person.
I would like to know before this meeting adjourns how having my friend's nephew on my lap was hurtful to people.
So what happened in that meeting, as you just saw, was that people were performing a struggle session and coming down on Tom very hard for an allegedly racist incident. It turns out that they couldn't actually define what was racist about him, but they could make these feeling gestures, these entirely subjective projections onto him from who knows where, of racism. So today I got a chance to speak with Tom, and he tells me his thoughts. He gives me a little bit of a background into the way in which New York City education is being run, and he basically makes the case that it actually is corrupt all the way to the top, or from the top down. Without further ado, here's Tom Wrocklage. Could you chart like the build up to that fantastic meeting?
I mean, it's been building for a while. During my election, there was a shift. Robin Roshi, who I'm sure you're aware of from the video, she was the president of our Community Education Council in District 2. And then when new people who were elected after seeing kind of the SHSAT issue kind of brought a lot of things up. It's one test by state statute that that's all they go by for the criteria for admission for 8 specialized high schools. And they were leading the charge to get rid of that, and also to get rid of all state testing, and to allow parents to opt out because they don't like tests, I guess. They don't like diagnostic materials to show where students should be placed because it's racist, apparently. They can't point to a single question that's racist on these tests, but they're
in
racist.
Aggregate, yeah.
Yeah. So, you could say that they produce discriminatory results. You could say, I guess that would be true. But instead of solving that problem, getting at the root of why we're getting discriminatory results, they just say, get rid of the test. Like, it's like if you went to a doctor and you had a terminal illness and he said, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're not going to medicate you. We're not going to do anything. We're just not going to test you for all the symptoms you're showing, and everything will be okay.
Do they have something set in place or a proposal? If they get rid of testing, how are they going to shuffle the kids around? They're just going to base it solely on identity?
Lottery, basically lottery.
Okay.
They don't really, it's more of a kind of repeal and then replace type. They don't really have any plans. They just want to destroy. And then they think everything will be figured out later. They don't really have many ideas.
Do you have any insight into what teachers think about this?
Well, the problem is that since the school chancellor pushes down this policy from above, it spreads fear amongst superintendents, teachers in general. There's been multiple lawsuits of teachers who were white just being pushed out because they were white. That's fact. There are lawsuits. Anybody can file a lawsuit, I suppose you could say, but there are lawsuits alleging that. And so a lot of teachers will disagree behind closed doors, but they don't feel that they can be open and honest when they're on record. There's a lot of fear. And there's a lot of money spent on New York City Department of Education. $35 billion budget.
With a B?
With a B.
All right. And where's that money going? Is there accountability involved?
Well, yeah, that's the issue, right? So a lot of it goes to pensions like any other, government organization. A lot of money goes to things like construction costs. We have a school construction authority. You want to build something, like I tried to get a roof built on my daughter's elementary school so that kids could play instead of the street in the middle of Manhattan. And the cost ballooned to like $7 million. Will probably never happen for something that could probably be done for $1 million on what would be the free market if it wasn't for the SCA.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously, if you want to save money, there's a lot of spending that needs to be cut. Bloated administration costs, just programs. Honestly, they would fund an anti-racial class before they'd fund a math class. It's baffling.
Okay, I'm an outsider, and this is my opinion, and tell me what you think about this. It seems like this is an incredibly broken system, or at least a very problematic system. It's got a system with a lot of problems in it, and then along comes this anti-racist training that makes it impossible to have actual conversations to fix problems. Because that's what we saw. It was completely interrupting any sort of productivity.
Absolutely. I mean, I joined the council to help children and improve their education. All children, not my child. My child doesn't go to a screen school. She goes to a school like everybody else, you know, and it just baffles me. And you go to the inner city neighborhoods, they're not saying that's what they want. They just want education for their kids. They're not reading anti-racist books. They just want a school in their neighborhood that's good.
Yeah.
They don't say, look, what we really need is we need our kids to take a bus an hour to get to school and be with the white kids. That's not what they say. They say, look, we want the same resources. You know, we're struggling here. All of our kids go to charter schools, all the good ones, because you took away our gifted and talented programs.
Okay.
It's nobody listens to them. Nobody listens to the people that actually need the help. They just come up, they read their book, they don't leave their Manhattan condos, and then they tell everybody else how they should think and how people that don't look like them feel. It's upsetting.
Was that always the case, or have you seen it advance over the last year and a half that you've been doing this?
I mean, it's hard to say because I've only been on the council since June of 2019 or July 1st, 2019. But you could tell it was always kind of in the background. And then, like, as COVID happened, rapid changes needed to happen. They took this as an opportunity. The chancellor is on record as saying, never, never waste a good
crisis or something like
crisis.
that.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
I think I read
So, I mean, they're going full throttle right now, as you can tell. I mean, they're in the minority on the council. They just scream and incoherently babble, as you saw. But they don't have anything. They don't want to help.
Do you see any way forward at this point?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the mayor has to leave. He will. I mean, I just hope that they don't I hope they don't destroy everything before he's gone. Because we have a mayoral control system. And, you know, there's things like in New York City, of course, you have the defund the police movement, which is also related to education because we have school safety officers who they want to take that $300 million contract, rip it up, and replace it with God knows what. But they don't know. And these school safety officers are often people of color who go through specific training in the NYPD. I know because I talk to them. And they want to take away their pensions. They want to take food out of their families' mouths in the name of some kind of justice, which doesn't make any sense to me because these are the people they're supposedly trying to help. It's baffling.
Have you gone through these trainings? Have you read the books?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Have you done the work, Tom?
No. But I did reach out to Ibrahim Kendricks and said, do you want to go get a cup of coffee? I'm going to read your book, but I'll go have a cup of coffee with you and discuss, and you can tell me how you feel and how you think. But I'm not going to pay for your book like all these other lemmings and give you money to read something that has produced absolute nonsense results on the ground. I think if somebody was reading my book and causing such havoc, I would actually reach out to somebody who's being hurt by it. In this case, that person was me. I haven't gotten a response. I haven't gotten a response from the deputy chancellor who slandered me and said there was a racist incident that occurred, or an incident that occurred with political motivation. I'm not running for office. There's no political motivation behind me having my friend over with her daughter and her nephew, like I have for several years.
Yeah.
It'll be over tonight.
Are you tempted to just watch your behavior now? I mean, it seems like they can use any little thing to, shout you down.
I'm sure they will try, but everything I said was accurate. It was all facts. It's hard to attack facts, especially when you can't answer simple questions. Why was my behavior racist? I asked that several times during that. Nobody could answer that. They went on for 5 minutes, did not answer the question. They talked about how they felt and how other people felt, but they didn't say what caused them to feel that way necessarily.
Mm-hmm. How do you approach racism in the home? Like, what is the conception of racism to you? Because it seems like the social justice warriors have a version of racism that you don't agree with. So what do you think of as that?
So what I've always taught my daughter is to treat people like people. It's a pretty simple concept. You don't go in with any preconceived notions, and you judge them on their actions, their behavior. You don't judge them on their skin color. And that has always worked. That's why my daughter has a very diverse group of friends. Best friend Jemiah, who's black. I mean, she is friends with her friend Jahan, is from Pakistan. Really good friend. I mean, she has a friend that's part Peruvian. I mean, New York really is a melting pot if you don't approach it in the manner that they do, and just try and polarize people.
Yeah.
I mean, people can get along with each other without having to read a book.
Yeah, or believe what's in a certain book. Because it seems like if that behavior that we witnessed in that meeting was happening between 12 or 14-year-olds, the adult in the room would stop them and kind of have them sort themselves out and try to make a peaceful resolution. But it seems that there was a lot of inability to move forward towards resolution.
So we can't move forward until we read all the books, right? And go through their training. That's the only way to move forward, according to them. So, and it's our fault that we're not willing to do the work to move things forward. And they will halt all the good things that we could be doing until we do that. And they feel that way, so it's true. It's amazing.
What do you hope? What's your best case scenario for things changing then?
Honestly, best case scenario is a new chancellor. You can't do anything without a new chancellor.
All right. So in your perception, this is coming from the top, it's trickling down, and the meeting that we saw from the 29th is a direct result of the chancellor's actions.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The chancellor has said things that would definitely be labeled as racist, but they're racist against Asian Americans, right? Because our best schools are primarily Asian students. And the thing that's troubling for them is that they can't fix it with income, because Asians are also the poorest demographic in New York City. So they can't blame it on income. And all that they've been able to do with that is say that, well, they're white adjacent people. Yeah, that's a term, I swear.
If you were asked, okay, let me ask you, why do you think that gifted programs or those top education are staffed so much with Asian individuals? What do you think gets them in there?
Well, I mean, a couple of things. One is community involvement and parent involvement in education. I mean, and also just they're an immigrant community, right? Even Bangladeshi are big on that. But they immigrate to and this is the most troubling thing for me, really. They immigrate to the United States for a chance to be treated as equals. And then they get here and are told that they are white adjacent. They're poor. They're working several jobs. Even the kids are working in like laundromats sometimes and studying because their parents are telling them that that's what they need to do to get ahead in this world. And then you have these social justice warriors who come in from their Manhattan condos and say, no. Even if you take the same test as everybody else, you are white adjacent. You are privileged somehow and you don't deserve to be in those schools. And these are people coming from communist regimes who went through all sorts of hoops to get here. And those are the people that they're blocking. It's astounding.
Yeah, it's absolutely infuriating. And as you say, cognitive dissonance, or what we used to call hypocrisy, is just oozing from the people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Jeez. Well, what do you... what are some good things that you think are going on then, and with regards to your involvement or the schools, or what's something that people in the community can be focusing on to push things towards a better position?
I mean, that's a good question. Right now, we've just been kind of putting our fingers in the dike to keep it from kind of flowing over. But, it's hard to say because we spend so much money on students here, way above the national average, like over $20,000 per student. So it's not, I can't say, well, if we just had more funding, things would be better. They might not be. It's more about like, I think that if you get these parents who want to be so involved, actually going to the places that need help and actually doing things, instead of sending tweets, instead of calling everybody else racist for not thinking like them, maybe things would improve. But they're not willing to do that work. That's uncomfortable for them.
Yeah, they love the uncomfortable conversation, but not the actual.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, what is your reaction to people's reaction to that meeting?
It was heartwarming. Just because when you're up there being torn apart by three individuals at once who are not making any sense to you, like you start to question yourself. Like I was up for nights after getting letters from private companies set up to lobby for these people.
Wow.
Yeah. So demanding my resignation. I mean, and I'm also working 12 to 14 hours a day in my job. I mean, some of these moms don't work. Some of the dad, I mean, I'm pretty sure, well, yeah, some of the dads don't work either. But, I don't have time to deal with this nonsense. I would like to be helping kids. So how did it make me feel that, me just being honest and telling them how it is resonated with people? It felt pretty good because I had been up for weeks, sleeping like an hour or two a night.
Oh, jeez.
And having to do my actual job at work.
Yeah.
So it felt good.
Their tactic, and I've been studying this phenomena for a few years now. It infiltrates organizations and it completely tears them apart. The only people who survive these environments are people who stay quiet or agree or, become converted and see the light and tromp along. But there's a mass of people who remain quiet, and instances such as you speaking up and holding your ground are very important for people to see that it is possible.
Absolutely. The measures I took after this all happened was I increased my life insurance policy. So if one of these lunatics kills me, at least my daughter won't die in poverty. What else did I do? I resigned myself that they're going to go after my job because I'm sure they will. I resigned the fact that they're going to continue to call me racist, despite having all the facts in front of them. They can take everything from me, but I will not back down. I will not be silenced.